Hey everyone, it's Andy's Free Guitar Chart Videos here. Welcome to my YouTube subscribers and my Facebook group friends and anyone who's found this video. If you like what you see, just hit the like button and subscribe. Perhaps if you want to see more of these videos, and tell your friends about Andy's Free Guitar Chart Videos on YouTube and on the Facebook group, which the link put together is below the video. So let's talk about 4 charts today. We're looking at the last of the staff charts, okay, where if you zoom into this interesting little diagram here, I've colored the notes on this 2 clef diagram here, and I've divided the clefs into segments. These segments are the equivalent of the size of a major chord, okay. On the piano would be like in the Lydian, which would be the TC, which is the top clef, treble clef, would be an F major 7th. Okay, the lower treble clef would be an E major 7th, but that would be down here, starting right here with the F. So what I'm calling the mighty clefs here. Right here is the treble clef. Here is the inner notes F, A, C, and E, and then add the note on top of the fence, and we have the Lydian scale. Okay, this is the upper C, so it's actually this one. So we discussed this in length in the last 3 lessons, and we don't want to spend too much time. The only difference is that I finally decided that we're definitely going to be considering these clefs as these major 7ths, adding 1 note to them on top. So if we have an A minor 7th in the bass clef here, we got our A, C, our E, and our G in that A minor 7th that goes through lower C. So it would be like this. Add 1 more note and we have our Aeolian scale. That's all really this. And these are mighty chords here. I was calling them Mighty Clefs. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've done this. I've been finishing up the chart 527 that we're going to work on today. So all it really had to do with was, of course we have this we could discuss, but we don't have time to do this. Again, it's, I should show it, it's chart 524, modal scale clefs fitted to long modal string shapes, long double modal string shapes, mighty chords. Now remember, double modal string shapes doesn't mean like it's not going to be the C string shape to the G string shape. Okay, that's a real long double short string shapes. It would be more like the C string shape to the F string shape. So really it's only 4 notes. Alright, so we look over here. So double modal longs, when you hear the word modal, okay, we've got 7 scale numbers. So say I have root 2, 3, then 2, 3, 4, then 3, 4, 5, then 5, 6, 7, then 6, 7 root, then 7 root 2, then root 2, 3 again. So they're really interleaved, okay, a lot more than the cage system, which would be, say, starting from the D string shape down here, it'd be 2, 3, 4, and then C would be 3, 4, 5, and then A would be 5, 6, and G would be 6, 7 root, and E would be 7 root 2. Okay, so if we do doubles of those, we'd have 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, as opposed to 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. So it's in that particular difference, it turns out to be the same, but it's not the same on all of them, and that's why we had to consider them modal double string shapes. So again, what I was talking about is the same thing here. We've split the staff into two of these double stacks here. And if we look at the treble clef first, which is over on the right hand side on this diagram, again we see the treble clef. We've got our F major 7th here in the Lydian, one more note on top of the fence, and we have our Lydian scale. Okay, and then next up on top of the treble clef we have the same exact square mighty chord right here, a G7 chord. Okay, add one more note on top of the fence there, an upper treble clef, and we have our Mixolydian that's passing through way up C. So here's middle C, here's upper C, here's way up C. That Mixolydian would be like this. Okay, so these are just how things are written on the clef, and then super way up, you know what that's going to be, right? It's actually a repeat of something we already have, and that is down here, the bass clef itself. So we look at the bass clef itself is going through middle C. So if we have an A minor 7 going through middle C, that's it. Add one more note on top of the fence, and we have our Aeolian. This is the mighty chord, okay, and this is the modal scale. Now we look at the string shapes that we use to make those. Of course, in lower bass we have G7 starting from way low C. Here's C, here's lower C, here's way low C. The G7 is going to be like that. Okay, whip it, you know. Alright, so and then we have G, put that on top, we have our Mixolydian. Okay, and then super way, below that, the 7th, this E, would be this note on my piano. So that's the explanation there with the double stacks. Now let's go to the piano diagram. We're going to go through this quickly because we have 4 charts to cover. So in the piano diagram, let's start with the bass we were just talking about. We're going to skip the super low bass because this note right here is here. Okay, and then you add the F there. We can go all the way around the circle and get the 94 notes where we have, starting from this F down here, we would end on the F, the 7th of that F right here, and then we would start G7 here, and then we'd go to this one, and then we'd go to this Aeolian in the bass clef, and then we'd go to this Locrian, okay, like that. But guess what? We're not going to go, after this Locrian, we're not going to go to this Ionian, and then to this Dorian, and on past my little electronic keyboard here, the Yamaha PSR EW400. Okay, it's my favorite instrument that I have because it has those arpeggiators and everything like that, all those arpeggio modes and everything. We're not going to go up a straight ideal situation here. Okay, do I have that diagram? Alright, we're not going up. The ideal situation would be after the B half diminished right here in the upper bass clef mighty chord. Then we're not going to go to the C minor, the D minor, and then the E minor would be the highest one. And that would be the 7th of that E minor 7th would be the highest playable note on any piano. Or if you could stretch that note. So if you had an 88 key electronic piano, you could still stretch that pitch. That'd probably be that really high D. Okay, so we have one big clef, the one big clef theory here. We have the ideal circle of modal 7ths, which is the one big clef. We would start on this super low F major 7th Lydian, which would end here. And we would go all the way up to this E minor 7th here, of which I can only get the first 4 notes of this Dorian scale here. I can't even get the first one of those. That's what it would do. It would start there and go all the way around. This would be the note stack. Okay, so this would be our F major 7th, G7, A minor 7th, B half diminished 7th, then we'll go to C major 7th over here, and then to D minor 7th, and then to E major 7th. That would be our note stack. But we don't have the ideal situation. We have two staffs. So we have the bass staff that goes up to the upper bass staff, and then we start again down here with the treble. So we've had classes on that before, and so that's what's going on, why the labels start again over here, kind of overlapping. Alright, and then the string shapes. So let's start with the treble clef, because the string shape concept is the same. There's a couple of notes here that are shown that we're not going to give you know, a complete mighty chord to. Okay, that's super low or treble. Alright, so it's just a little bit more overlap, but most of the notes are here if you want to look at it like that. We've got that E minor 7th. We're going to look at it as a C into a G E. There's a G string shape 6/7 root, and then the E string shape 7 root 2. So it's a C, G, E. C right here is 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then G, E. G is 6/7 root, and then E, we're overlapping that. They're sharing that note. So 3, 4, 5. Okay, C, and then next string up we're going to a G, E. So the only overlap is in the one string shape. So let's look at that. Let's look at the string shape stack. So this is the master string shape stack I have for the clefs. This is modal scales ladder, but it's actually useful for the clefs. So these are the string shapes we're going to be using. The RE string shape, root 2, 3, and then D is 2, 3, 4. See how they overlap? Just that one string shape. Now up here we have the 4, C, and 5A. Now this is the ladder, so we have 4 to 4, 7 to 7, 3 to 3 here, 6 to 6, etc. We got 4, 5, 6, going to 5, 6, 7. That's the big long one, 4, C, 5A. Then we have ERE. We got the 7, root 2, and then 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter if you do it down here. That's the good thing about the string shapes. You can do them anywhere, on the guitar or on the piano or any instrument. So these are like double string shapes. These are like violin string shapes, but there's fourths